brand new day in front of us. Today, of course, is the 29th of January 2026, and the year is buzzing by. Of course, where I live, it's still wintertime, but it is not a bad day out there. Had the privilege yesterday of going into Edmonton and St. Albert, enjoying some city life, but I'm also glad to be able to come to a small town and enjoy what it has to offer as well. So today we're going to talk about four different things that you and I need to know today. Something that is absolutely essential, and I hope as well informational. So, Lord, thank you for what we're going to learn today in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, the first thing, of course, that we can learn today is the past cannot be changed. Whatever happened yesterday, of course, may have some consequences today, but there's nothing that you can do to change it. And so often what we do is we worry over the past. And sometimes we allow the past to actually affect us today. And we need to recognize that you can't change the past. It is always going to be there. You can learn from the past. You can take steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again, but there's nothing that you can do to change it. You can sit there and you can say, well, I should have done something different. Maybe I should have done this or that. But the simple fact is, you can't do anything about it. So, what should you do? Well, forget that which is behind and press on to that which is ahead. That's what the Apostle Paul said. So today, live for today. Back in 1969, there was a group called the Grassroots, and they had a number one single that simply said, live for today. Enjoy every moment of this day. In fact, David said, this is the day which the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Jeremiah said simply this, the mercies of God are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. Throughout this day, approach every situation with wisdom, but also as well with the philosophy that today you're going to make this the best day possible. It's not saying that bad things are not going to happen or things are going to happen that are unexpected. But the simple fact is that you roll with the punches and you, of course, come back smiling because you recognize that your happiness is not dependent on, people liking you or their circumstances. Your happiness is actually comes from within, knowing that you are resourceful, you are wise, and also as well the very inner power and energy that you have can make all the difference. I had an old friend whose name was Tyson Smith. I actually talked with Tyson's widow yesterday, and we were chatting about Tyson and the fact that Tyson had a philosophy, and that was simply this: attitude is everything. What he was reminding us today is that your attitude will either, bring you down or lift you up. And that is a choice. So remember that past cannot be changed. Secondly, happiness is found within, not on outside circumstances. What's going on in your heart is going to affect your mindset, your attitude, and of course, your disposition toward whatever is happening. If you're looking for happiness in people, you're going to be sadly disappointed. And the reason why is because people do things and say things and occasionally cause things that cause you difficulty, and also as well, they may or may not intend to do it, but it does happen. If you're in a relationship, let me tell you something. Recognize that you will not find happiness in people. So you need to look within. And it was Jesus who said this: wherever your heart is, that is where your treasure is. And wherever your treasure is, that is where your heart is. So it's important to recognize that if you're going to be happy, if you're going to be joyful, if you're going to have a positive outlook, it begins from the inside out. Years ago, I read a book from Gordon MacDonald who talked about that every day we should start our days off with prayer, with saying, Lord, I understand today that there's a fluidity in life, that things move in ebb and flow. So today I'm making a choice, and that choice is, of course, to trust you and also to trust myself. That's important because most people don't trust themselves. They don't trust people because people disappoint. But you see, when you're offended, the first thing you need to do is forgive. The second thing you need to do is reset and say, okay, that was a learning lesson. We're going to make sure that we take steps to positively learn from this experience and not allow this experience to colorize everything that people do to us, because that can happen. If you are holding onto forgiveness right now because someone has hurt or offended you, you know what's going to happen? It's going to color everything that you see. You're going to approach people with the thought that they can actually hurt you. And it is a possibility. I understand that. But there are steps that you can take to make sure that that doesn't happen. And of course, that is making the decision that you're going to love no matter what. And also understanding that no matter what anyone does to you, you're not going to do the same to them. It doesn't guarantee that people won't hurt you or offend you, but the simple fact is you have already chosen what you're going to do. You're going to choose to forgive, and you're going to choose to move on. That's important. And so you need to understand happiness is not comes from without, it comes from within. You know, it simply says in Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is our strength. Joy is that deep-seated contentment, knowing that no matter what happens to you, God has everything under control. And also as well, you can as well when you understand these. Also as well, the third thing I want to remind you today is comparison is going to steal peace. If you are comparing yourself with someone else, guess what? You're going to find in some area of your life, you're going to come up short. So when you compare yourself to others, you also forget that you are unique among all creation. Think about that for a moment. You have a fingerprint that is entirely yours alone. You have an eye print that is entirely different from everybody else on the planet. You know, scientists tells us that every flake of snow is different from the other flake of snow. And you, of course, are different from somebody else. There is 8.3 to 8.4 billion people that live on this planet right now. There are people that may look like you, they may even talk like you, but they are not you. You are a totally unique individual. No one has your skill set. No one has your environment. No one has your growth patterns. You are totally unique. David said, we are wonderfully and marvelously created. So don't get into, of course, the problem with comparison. I had a friend who basically got into the rat race. He said, you know, my friend has this, so I need to have this. And so got into the whole area of comparison. One day he came to me and said, this whole thing is so exhausting and it's robbing me of my peace. I said, don't get involved with comparison. Nobody's like you. Enjoy who you are and what is happening in your life. because you need to look at things that way and understand that your peace is more important than anything else. And it's important to understand that peace, in fact, I was doing a Bible study last night, and it was interesting. In that particular Bible study, I asked the question, I said, what is peace? And one of the ladies there said, it is not struggling and it is not being in conflict with oneself. And I said, that's right. Inner peace is found by not having inner strife or conflict or warfare. It is coming to peace with what is happening in your life and trusting the Lord and trusting yourself to be able to, of course, navigate those times in which it is not always easy to navigate. You know, the ancient Vikings actually became the world's best navigators because they lived in the North Sea, and the North Sea is, of course, greatly affected by the Arctic current. And the Arctic current, when it comes down from, of course, the north, clashes with the Atlantic current, and there are these violent storms that, of course, end up in the North Sea. And the Vikings actually became great navigators and great seafarers because they learned how to navigate and to also as well sail in those great storms of life. So it's, you have to understand, it's not the smooth sailing that increases your ability to navigate. It is the storms of life that give you the ability to be able to navigate what's going on. And that's where growth actually happens. And of course, the last thing I want to leave with you today is simply this: growth takes patience. My son, for example, is, of course, a farmer. In about 2 to 3 months' time, he is going to get out in his combine and he is going to sow his crops. Last year, he sowed canola and barley. He might do the same this year, but he knows it takes time for barley and for canola and for wheat. And if you are a gardener, you know it takes time for the plants to grow. You put the seed in the ground, but you understand it takes time for growth, and growth in your life needs patience as well. You know that in due season, you are going to reap a harvest. Some of the growth that we have in our lives is, of course, subtle, and you don't really see what's happening. Other times, the growth in your life is dramatic and immediate. Either way, you need to have some patience today and understand that patience comes again from inside, not from the things that are happening around you. Now, I'm not saying that environment isn't important, because it is important, but you must not allow the environment that you find yourself to destroy you. You can find that even the environment that you live can be a benefit. I was watching a video on Iran. That's right, on Iran. My wife and I saw this YouTube video, and it says, The Mysteries of Iran. Well, it was very interesting to find out that Iran is a big country. In fact, it's the 17th largest country in the world. But in Iran, they have such a diversity of, different landscapes. They have desert. They have also as well jungle and equatorial type of landscape. They have, of course, different mountains and different things. I discovered that in Iran, for example, they recorded the hottest temperature of all time. The satellites that will monitor the earth discovered that in one particular place in Iran, it got to 169 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius on occasionally days today, which is even more than Death Valley. We're talking about surface temperature. We're not talking about atmospheric temperature. That is pretty amazing. But what I discovered about Iran is that it has these beautiful rivers in it. It has all kinds of diversity with it. And it is, of course, the center of the ancient Persian Empire. And so it was a really growth experience understanding that and understanding that even the environment in which they live can bring about, people actually live in that area. It's not easy for them to live, but they have learned to adapt. And so the simple fact is, you and I can adapt to the environment and what's going on around us. The important thing is to understand that growth takes patience. You are growing every single day if you choose to grow every single day. You can see changes in your life, but you also understand that the big changes in your life come, of course, with, time. So here are the four things that I want you to remember. Number one, the past cannot be changed. Number two, happiness is actually found within. Comparison is going to steal your peace, and growth takes patience. These are the things that I want you to remember today. Well, my name is Robert Dean Steele, and I always encourage you that if you like what you're seeing, press the like button. And also, as well, don't forget, of course, to sign up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, as well, every day I do daily shorts, YouTube shorts that remind you about certain things. I usually give you a one thought message to encourage, inspire, and also as well illuminate your day. Check those out as well. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thank you for joining me today, and have yourself a great and godly day.